going to bring Claire onto the stream. Okay, I think Claire's been waiting. Sorry for keeping you waiting. So yeah, hi Claire.
Hello, selamat hari raya puasa.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, that's a very ancient greeting. Selamat Hari Raya Puasa. We don't actually say this anymore. We just say Selamat Hari Raya Aidil Fitri now.
Oh, right, right.
I don't know. I think
When did the change
uh,
happen?
I don't know. I think it happened quite gradually between the 80s and the 90s because eventually it just evolved into the Arabic term because we wanted to use the Arabic term, but at the same time we still want to say Selamat Hari Raya, right? So we just combine both, and now we just say Selamat Hari Raya Aidil Fitri.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And
yes.
how many are there? I mean, because it always seems that there's always something Adil Fitri coming round, like almost once every 3 months.
Oh, there's only two. There's only two Hari
Okay,
Raya.
two.
So basically, Selamat Hari Raya is Aidil Fitri and Aidil Adha, which is the one during the Hajj. Okay, I think you know that.
Well, there is a season for going on the pilgrimage. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so one of those days when the pilgrims go around the one doing when the pilgrims are doing one of the events at Mecca. So here in Malaysia, in other parts of the Muslim world, we celebrate a day called Aidul Adha. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's one when you go in season and then when you go out of season and it's something a little
Yeah.
hard or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. I
What
think
is it?
so.
Is
I
it
think that's what
cheaper
you're referring to.
or I mean, is there any reason to go for one rather than the other? Is it slightly
Um.
cheaper or less crowded or I don't know? Have you been
So
on
yeah.
both?
Sorry, Claire. I think I don't really understand your question. Maybe you can clarify.
Um, okay, I understand that when you go on Hajj, there's
Right.
is that somebody called a mini Hajj when you go out of season or something
Oh,
or
Umrah. Umrah. The
Umrah?
Umrah.
Yeah, that's the one, right?
Yes.
And
Umrah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's not so crowded and it's off season.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes. That's right. That's right. That's right. It's I mean it's yeah it's encouraging. We call it the minor Hajj. So the major Hajj is of course the one that happens every year during Zul Qaeda, okay, the month of Zul Qaeda, and Umrah is what happens. Is those are for those pilgrims who go to Mecca for the rest of the day for the rest of the year. Okay, like for example, if you go on your pilgrimage to Makkah now, okay, in Ramadan, then that will be called the Umrah. But when you go for the Hajj, for sorry, when you go for the pilgrimage to
Hmm, hmm.
yes.
Gosh, yeah, and your lunar calendar, it means that the month of Hajj can be any year of the month. Is that how it works?
The Umrah can be at any of the month, but the Hajj can only happen in this particular month of Zulqaidah. Okay.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Right, right.
yeah, yeah.
So I was just saying in the chat this thing about chapter
I
18
think
verse
yeah,
4.
I think yeah. Before we continue, Claire, I don't know why, but brother Sydney Football is saying that you are a Zionist. I don't know. Can I share the comment? Why
Yeah,
does
sure,
MENJ
please.
allow? So he says, why does MENJ allow Zionists on his channel? So maybe you can clarify that. Why I think it's not just one person. A few people are accusing you of that. So maybe you can clarify what do they mean by this?
Well, I'm just saying Jews deserve their own homeland. I don't know what you guys expect them to do. They're all there now. Um, you want to kick them all out? That seems a bit
So
odd.
are you for the existence of Israel proper?
Well, because chapter 17, verse 104 says Jews have a right to their homeland. They just have to share it with other people, right? The mixed
So
multitude, chapter 17,
um
verse 104.
I wouldn't agree with you with that interpretation. But anyway, I mean, this is an open channel, so we have an open discourse. So it doesn't matter what I think. So in any case, yeah. So if that's the case, then if you don't mind me asking, what would be your position regarding the Palestinians?
Um, Actually, I try not to talk about the Palestinians because, I mean,
Okay.
obviously
Okay.
they're going to give the Israelis grief because everybody hates the Israeli because Israel is just an American colonial outpost.
Which
And
they are.
yeah, so, I've said this to the Jews and they kind of accept it, really. And I know they're having problems with their Israeli Supreme Court because the religious Jews, I mean, they voted in this election of theirs and, they got a majority. And basically, the Israeli Supreme Court is saying, we're going to veto all the laws you want to pass. We're going to basically trash Judaism because the secular liberal Israelis are basically liberal Democrats, and you could say they want to worship the false idol of liberal democracy, and these religious Jews don't agree. And I don't know if you know that I've been saying, how about secular Quranism with Israeli characteristics? It will solve your problems because it's a kind of, equalizer. It'll make, your secular Jews not so extremely, sexually liberated, and it'll make, the more fundamentalist
but
religious
but
Jews
but
sort of, yeah.
but for the sake of the argument, let's say Israel does agree to your understanding of secular Quranism, as you call it. Wouldn't that conflict with their own halakha, their own Jewish laws, because they too have their own standards and yeah.
Not at all, because I think you would, as a Jew, not have a problem with Sharia because they always say, oh, what is halal is not kosher, but what is kosher is halal, and we have much higher standards, and our religion is far more restrictive, and we were put on earth to be God's chosen people, setting and upholding standards and promoting the no hide laws, and we're so triggered by idolatry, and I mean, the religious ones kind of say that. And I'm saying, um, if you're saying that Orthodox Judaism is so strict, then Sharia should be a walk in the park for you. It's actually Judaism light, and therefore
Yeah.
you shouldn't have any problem with it. But I mean, obviously, it's not the religious Jews who have the problem; it's the secular Jews, and half the Jews in Israel are secular, and they get
That's true.
funding from the State Department to go on these
Yeah. Yeah.
demonstrations and obstruct highways and generally act violently because a lot of these Israelis are not. Well, they hate Judaism basically,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they want to wipe it out.
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, I wanted to ask you because you said something interesting there about the Jews having their own land. I think the issue with the people in the chat right now, the brothers in the chat right now, is that you said that the Jews deserve the homeland, and there are some Palestinians here, and of course they're going to be upset because they believe that they have a right to the homeland. I have to actually sympathize with them more than I do with the Jews, because basically the Jews were kicked out of their own of the land, and they don't actually have a right to reclaim it again, if you ask me. Okay, but okay, since we are on the subject, would you actually condone Palestinians being kicked out of their own houses, or over in the name of Jews having the right to their own homeland? Would that be you know coherent,
I
or
know
would
some of
would
them want to
that be
do
actually
that.
be in
I
yeah
know some of them want to
would
do
that
that,
actually
but
be yeah I mean
um,
would that be in line with secular Quranism as you
no,
propose?
secular Quranism is a one-state solution, and currently in Israel they need a two-state solution just for Jews. The secular Jews and the
Right,
religious Jews. So
right.
it's obviously something that can't continue because there are all these religious Jews, and they voted for in their majority to have more socially conservative laws, and the Israeli Supreme Court is basically saying we're going to veto any law that the Knesset makes, and
Yeah.
obviously they're not happy, and
Mhm.
the American, well, the American war machine is going to be overstretched very soon if it does start World War III. And I think, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm basically telling the Americans, it's like, all the problems you're having now in America, I know the Americans don't really care about us, but they're worried about their own government. They are not happy with their elementary school children being told that they could be transgender, that there's lots of things they're not happy about. And I say to them, look, you don't have an official religion. America does not have an official religion. And all the problems you're getting now is because you don't have an official religion. And it can't be Christianity because of what the founding fathers did. They separated the church from their state. And actually, it would be un-American for them to say, oh, we're now a Christian country. And actually, a lot of white Americans wouldn't agree with that anyway. So I'm saying, there's only one religion. You're not going to adopt Judaism. You're not going to be adopting Hinduism or Buddhism, and Christianity is kaput. There's only one religion left, and it is the one beginning with I. And they freak out. And but anyway, the message is slowly getting through. They don't like it, but and once America adopts, I didn't think it's a bit much to expect them to adopt Islam, but I think secular Quranism is a kind of, Islam light. They're not going to be forced to, I guess what they're worried about is they're going to be beheaded if they, convert to Islam. So I've been saying, look, don't worry about it. First Amendment supported by Chapter 2, verse 256 of the Quran that says, there is no compulsion in belief, truth stands clear from error. And actually, it's an American thing because there is a White House Quran. It belonged to Thomas Jefferson, who drafted, the Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom, which later became the First Amendment. So I'm trying to impress upon them that it's kind of their thing too, but they've forgotten about it because all the Christians have been, trying to deny that the First Amendment was based on Chapter 2, verse 256. They try to pretend like, oh, Jefferson owned the Quran, so what? I have plenty of books that I bought and never read. But the history is that Jefferson had to negotiate with the Barbary pirates, and history is on record of him, having to read the Quran, the better to equip him to negotiate with the Barbary pirates, who were causing a problem for American shipping. And I'm basically, just trying to impress on Americans that, it's their thing, really, but they just have to acknowledge it. And there's been a lot of lies in American history, and they have to understand their own history. And so do Europeans need to understand their own history because, basically, it just used to be the case that in Europe, if you lived under a king, you had to follow his religion, because you had no choice. And if you didn't follow his religion, they were going to burn you at the stake, because that was how it worked, that whatever is the religion of your king, that also has to be your religion.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I guess it wouldn't work otherwise, because you can say, oh, but my God is this other foreign god, and my God curses your the king. So I guess they weren't going to have any of that. And obviously a lot of these Europeans hated it, and when the founding fathers arrived in the new world from the old world, they understandably said, we're not going to have any of that. We're not going to be forced to pretend that we believe that Jesus is God and be punished for not saying that. And they were having a lot of problems, in the new world too, because there were all these different kinds of Christians, and they disagreed with each other, and they were fighting and killing each other too. And understandably, Jefferson said, well, we're not going to have all this rubbish here in our new country. And but it's very difficult to tell people who learned their history in a different way. But I don't think they can deny it, because the whole pattern of Western history is that Constantine the Great adopted Christianity,
Yes.
in the 300s, and basically, people don't change their religion for fun. I mean, it was obvious that the Romans, had a terrible time because there was a lot of fighting, everybody wanting to be emperor, and there was, and nobody really believed in the Roman religion, which was to worship the deceased emperor after he died. And
Yes.
it
That's
was
right.
just a formality. Nobody really believed that anyway. And
Yeah.
that's why, they were fighting. And Constantine said, no, we've just got to have a different religion because the imperial cult was failing. And Christianity was just the biggest idea around. And he called the Council of Nicaea and called all the bishops, the Christian bishops, and they couldn't agree. Maybe about the schism between
Yeah.
Trinitarians
Yeah. In the
and
in the in the nature of Jesus, the nature of Jesus between the Arians and the Athenians.
yeah. And basically the Arians were saying, oh, Jesus was, a divine angel, or
Yes.
and the
Yes.
Trinitarians said, no, he's got to be the co-equal of God. And
Yes.
I think I've solved the mystery of the Trinity, and I'd like to be able to explain to you.
You want to explain the Trinity to me? I thought you despise the Trinity.
No, but we have to understand how it came about because of these two different groups of bishops who one said Arianism is easier to believe, and actually Constantine and his son were Arians. Because
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
it was
Yeah.
easy to believe because the Romans believed in all kinds of gods, Jupiter, Venus, all that. So it was easy for them to believe that Jesus was this
Divine
son of
being,
God.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And
Mhm.
and then the Trinitarian said, no, he's got to be the co-equal of this Holy Spirit and the Father.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and in 380,
Yeah.
when the Edict of Thessalonica was passed,
Right.
it said the only kind of Christian allowed in the Roman Empire is a Trinitarian kind, and anyone who believes in any kind of Christianity, they're going to be persecuted. And
Yeah.
I think the reason is this: if you're going to be having theological arguments with Jews, for example,
Mhm.
actually, they only, yes, I mean, Christians would only be arguing with Jews, and the Jews were going to say, well, our God didn't have to die on the cross. He didn't get
Mhm.
hurt. He didn't die. He didn't go to heaven, after he went to hell or whatever,
Okay.
Nicene Creed
Okay.
says. Our
Okay.
God is whole, and and he's more powerful than your Jesus, who's just a little bit divine, and who you
Sure.
claim is the Son of
Right.
God, born of a virgin. And
Right.
I think the Trinitarians just sort of understood that immediately because they anticipated the argument that the Jews would make, and that's why Athanasius, who was the creator of Trinitarianism, basically said,
Okay.
that's going to happen eventually. So you might as well go with
Right.
my Trinitarianism, even though you find it a bit hard to believe, because then
That's right.
the Christians can say, well, Jesus is a co-equal of God and the Holy Spirit, so we
Mhm.
win the argument.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Right. So that is your understanding of Trinity.
Yes, I think
Mhm.
I don't think any of them can really argue about that. They can just pretend not to
Mhm.
understand, I suppose.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
did explain it to E. Michael Jones when he came onto my channel, and so
Okay.
basically it's they've been getting away with it for so many centuries, and they've been lying to
Obviously.
their own people, for over 100 generations. So I understand it's very hard for them to accept that their religion is wrong, and their parents' religion, their grandparents' religion, their ancestors' religion, going all the way back to
Yep.
Constantine, right?
That's
So
true.
it's
That's true. Yeah.
so I think we should just sort of give them a golden bridge to the Americans and say, look, the American Republic was a great idea. It was a
Mhm.
great idea because basically the founding fathers were proto-Muslim. I mean, proto-Muslim in that, of course, they haven't said the Shahada or anything like that, but they were
Okay.
saying, we reject Christianity, we reject monarchy, because Christianity was used to support monarchy. I mean,
Okay.
that was what Constantine was doing. Is like, I have the divine right to rule, and the priest will say, I'm so wonderful and I have the right. And but it's been failing for 500 years. So basically, there were the wars of the Reformation, and they suffered terribly.
Yeah.
They even actually forgave cannibalism because things were so bad that most people practiced it during the
Yeah.
wars of the Reformation,
Yeah.
and then they burnt each other at the stake for being the wrong kind of Christian.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
basically traumatized,
Yeah.
that they can't accept that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and basically,
Yeah, yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, Claire. But speaking of which, I actually had this interesting conversation with Unitarian, I mean, he called himself a biblical Unitarian guy. Yeah, a biblical Unitarian. So this person was saying that you can actually derive a Unitarian God from the Bible. That Jesus is not divine. Jesus was not divine, and that the prophets of the past never preach a Trinity. So would you say that have you ever talked to or contacted a a person who claims to be a biblical Unitarian before, and what do you actually think of them?
well, I'm saying they're proto-Muslim too. It's like, well, but the Unitarian Church in America is not doing any good. I mean, they were the most liberal kind, and went along with all the the sexual liberation and everything. And also, these Unitarians, they can't make up their minds whether Jesus was born of a virgin or not. So
Okay.
it's like, well, if you want to believe in God and worship Him properly, why not just sort of go for the most high status religion, i.e., Islam? And the only reason why you're not doing it is for cultural reasons, because you don't like Muslims or
Well,
whatever.
well, well. The thing is, he claims that the reason why he's not a Muslim is because he has a problem with, Islam denying that Jesus is the Son of God, because he believes that Jesus is the Son of God, and of course, certain aspects of those certain aspects of what Trinitarians themselves believe, like for example, the redemption of sin through the blood of Jesus, the crucifixion itself, and the resurrection of Jesus from death. That those are things which he also believes as well, which of course it contradicts Islam. So he doesn't seem to be able to accept that this is rejected in Islam, and although he says that he doesn't believe in the Trinity, but there are still things which Trinitarians believe that he holds to, although he interprets it in a different way. Yeah, so what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I suppose they don't like me because I'm quite brutal about their idolatry. It's like, hey, did you know? How is Christianity not idolatry? And the best they can do is it's not idolatry. If Jesus is God, that's as far as it can, And then they run out of the room before I can ask them this question. So how is Jesus God? And they can't answer the question because the only authority for the proposition that Jesus is God is the Athanasian Creed. Have
Yes,
you?
that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
and it's just nonsense, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Obviously. I mean, the Nicene Creed. If you read it, oh my God, it's really mind-boggling. I'm not really sure
I
how
mean,
to.
there are some versions of it that says Jesus went to hell and then went to heaven, right? It's
Yes,
like,
yes,
what's going
yes,
on?
yes,
The
yes.
story is full of
That, that's,
holes.
that's, that's the Catholic. That's the Catholic version. That's the Catholic understanding. Yeah, purgatory actually. Yeah,
Yeah, and the thing is, they've basically given up believing in it. But I'm just sorry that so many Chinese in Malaysia have been sold the idea of Christianity. And
okay,
it's like, yeah, we know they don't, they can't give up their poor, they love to gamble, the twin Chinese vices, and of
right.
course, it's a very corrupt bargain. It's like, well, as long as you believe Jesus as God, you get to heaven. You're a Christian, and only
Right,
Christians go to
right,
heaven. And
right,
okay, and even if they don't really believe in it, they can pretend to believe in it by saying Jesus is Lord, Jesus is Lord. As you can see, the evangelical Christians doing it.
yep,
So
yep,
they're saying, well, I'm proving that I believe Jesus is God by telling
mm,
everybody that. You know, um, which is why they're so annoying. But the Western cultural Christians, they don't get it at all, because
yeah,
their own government wouldn't dare to do it to them, because it's just
yeah,
so ridiculous. Actually, I know a Jew who said, I heard all this stuff about the Trinity, but I just thought it was, some Jews who just hated Christians making up stuff about them. And then I realized it was true, that they really were supposed to believe in all this nonsense. So,
Okay. Right. Okay. Anyway, Claire, before I think we should cut it. I mean, end the conversation soon because you have been on for quite some time, and I
yes,
want
I'm
to look
sorry.
at
I
having a. No,
just,
no, it's fine. It's fine. I don't mind you coming here, but unfortunately, we still need to accommodate more guests. So, but
yes,
in
of
any case,
course.
before you leave, I think brother Sydney Fobo has. I think he still wants to press on you on the Palestinian issue. So he said, "Why MENJ? Why did he switch the topic from? Why did she switch the topic from Palestine to this waffle?" No, I don't think it's waffle. By the way, I think it's very important. But okay, I understand why you think it may be so. Get her back on topic. So I think you should actually clarify your position with regards to Palestine, and you're going to offend a lot of Muslims too when you say if you say that Jews deserve their homeland, because as a Muslim I cannot accept that idea as well. Okay,
Well, if
so
they live under Sharia, wouldn't you kind of not be so angry with them anymore? If they live under Sharia, because I think basically that's why you're so angry with them. It's like, well, you're supposed to be the first people, and look what you've become. You're just liberal and liberal Democrats and supporting the most evil empire in the world.
okay.
But if they lived under Sharia, I think you'd be less angry with them, wouldn't you?
Well, if they dismantle the state of Israel and they decide to, come under the banner of Islamic rule, then yes, I wouldn't mind them living in what we now know as Palestine, okay, or occupied Palestine even. But I wouldn't want the state of Israel as we see it now to exist. I mean, I don't accept the idea of Israel as we see now existing, and I don't want their flag either. I want that flag to be destroyed and burned to the ground. That's my position. Yeah, It's not just about the state of Israel accepting the Sharia or accepting maybe a version of secular Quranism as you propose, but they have to dismantle the whole apparatus, the whole state. Because to me, the state itself is evil, and it should be destroyed and burned to the ground. And a new Islamic state should be built upon the ruins of that false Jewish state. Yeah. I know it sounds a
Yes.
bit harsh. It sounds a bit harsh, but
Yes.
I actually echo a lot of Palestinian feelings on this. Yeah.
I understand, but I suppose I'm just trying to be realistic and giving them something they could just consider, because what you're saying is um, something that I guess they couldn't bear. But if you give it to them by
I
degrees,
don't think
they
I
might
think
just.
honestly, Claire, I think the time for talking to them has gone past. I mean that window was there about a decade ago, but they have pretty much shunned it, and they are now pushing forward with their own expansionist ideals. I mean, just look at the news, what they have done to Palestinians and what they have done to the land itself. I mean, they claim to be Jewish, they claim to be God's people, but they are allowing all sorts of nasty things like the Alphabet Club. I cannot say it explicitly, but the Alphabet Club,
Mm.
hedonism, all these kind of things which
Yes,
goes against
that's because they're
even the
liberal
Torah.
Democrat
Yes, I mean they're
and
supposed to be
taking their
religious.
orders from America.
Exactly. So they're supposed to be religious. I mean, even if they're secular or they claim to be secular, they should at least try to be religious, but they don't even pretend to be religious. You see, so that's the issue. You see.
Oh, well, then I have a whole list of things to argue with the religious people. Okay, and I'll explain it to you if you haven't got people, but and they
Okay.
don't like it. I'm saying the Orthodox Jews don't like it. In 2 minutes.
Sure. Before you leave, I hope. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, you know that the Torah have 36 capital offenses, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I'm aware
Yeah.
of it.
So so and God never said, oh, don't worry about it, Jews. I've forgotten about all these terrible 36 capital offences, and it
Right.
no
Right.
longer apply. But
Right.
basically, they go around, saying, oh, God didn't really mean it, whatever. And I'm saying, and I know that some rabbi in history said to Jews about to be stoned to death, they're saying, oh, don't worry about being stoned to death. It just means that if you get stoned to death now, you won't be stoned to death when you get to the other side in the afterlife. And I'm saying, okay, if that is how it goes, then any Jew who doesn't get punish for the 30, any of the 36 capital offences
Right.
will suffer them in the afterlife. And it's not
Right.
going to be good for them. And the only way you can escape from all these 36 capital offences is to convert to Islam. Um,
That's an interesting way to look at it.
yeah. And they have no answer to it either, because I'm using their own stuff against them, and they don't
Yeah.
want to talk to me either. So, well, thank you for allowing me to explain it.
No,
Have
no,
you heard of
likewise.
the rhyme of the
Thank you
ancient
for
mariner? Well,
thank you
I
for
just feel
coming on.
like the
Yeah,
ancient mariner.
thank you for
Thank you for
coming.
having me.
Yes, thank you for coming on the stream. And I think we were supposed to have a live stream together on your channel, right, regarding Malaysian politics. Yeah, what
Yes,
happened to that?
when can you do it? I keep asking you, when would you like to do it?
I think I replied to you several weeks ago, but
Did
you have not
you?
come back to me. Maybe you should email me again, and then we can talk about that. All right.
Okay. Well, I look forward
All
to
right.
that. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I look forward to your email. All right. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you, Claire, for
Okay.
coming on
Bye
board.
bye.
All right. Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye. Right. See you. Okay. All right. So yeah, thank you, Claire, for coming on board. I know that there are some people in the chat who aren't very happy with Claire coming on board. Okay, but I think she's a fair-minded person. By the way, she's agnostic. Okay, but she believes that there should be some form of of what she calls secular Quranism being implemented in non-Muslim states, because non-Muslim states are obviously. I mean, I understand her premise very well. Obviously non-Muslim states aren't going to accept Islam. So why can't they accept a form of Sharia, Islamic law, which she calls secular Quranism, which does not, which ignores the very Tawhidistic part of the law of the Sharia, and implement laws like, for example, with regards to the alphabet club, robbery, rape, adultery, etc. All these things, and basically preserving the family unit through the implementation of, I would say, Sharia light. Okay, in non-Muslim countries, by the way, I'm not saying anything about Muslim countries. Obviously, the Muslim countries will have to implement Sharia fully, but what about those non-Muslim states? So she's proposing this concept called secular Quranism for them, and her premise is quite interesting, but and it's a bit, sometimes it's a bit, I think it's a bit too optimistic to expect non-Muslims to even adopt even a little bit of the Sharia. I don't think they will even accept that. But hey, that's her view, and I think she has a right to her view. And I try not to censor anyone on this platform because I believe in free speech. Of course, if you insult Islam, if you insult the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, if you insult the Quran, you will get an immediate ban. I will not tolerate such behavior. But if you come here with civility, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with Islam. You don't have to agree on anything that we Muslims believe on about. But if you come here with civility, with politeness, and with some attempt, at the very least, a pretense to attempt to understand the Islamic position, then hey, I'm most welcome. I'm most open to welcoming you on board. Okay, so I'm not this I'm not that illiberal, or I'm not that extreme to the point that I'll just shut you down with your views, even though your views may disagree with me. And I'm very open to this. Okay, I think if you watch my previous videos on Christianity, especially the ones where I respond to allegations about Islam, and the ones which I question Christianity, you know what my position of Christianity is. But I'm not this evil person who hates Christianity and wants to destroy Christianity with one single swipe of the sword. And I want to, and it's not that I never said anything of the sort, and I've never said that I want to kill all Christians. I want to destroy Christianity and burn them to the ground. If I do say such things, I probably would mean it figuratively, and I'm actually referring to a specific set of Christians, the Islamophobic ones. Okay, the Islamophobic strain. Yeah, people like David Wu, like Sam Shamoon, like Christian Princess. Okay, those people should not be given any chance to speak about Islam at all. They should, if I had my way, I think they would have gone to meet their Lord much sooner. But I'm not the one who's in authority, so that's just my opinion. Okay, I mean, I will not allow these belligerents to say anything bad about Islam, and I will not give them any leeway to even give them any courtesy at all to say anything about whether it's about Islam or other religions or other Muslims. No. Okay. I mean, the first thing I'm going to do if I were ever to see or to come across David Wood walking towards me is to probably punch him in the face. Okay. I won't hide that feeling. Okay. I'm not going to smile, walk up to him and smile at me and say, hey, can I shake your hand because you're such a well known YouTuber who insults Islam almost every day and is now asking for a 20K USD donation and taking advantage of your own son's death in order to raise more money for your evil cause. Do you really think I'm going to say this? I'll probably go up to him and say, hey, you bastard. Poof. No, 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 no secrets there. All right. So anyway, all right. So I'm going to read the comments. Wow, the comments